Hello. First, we want to thank the International Symposium on Ubiquitous Music for allowing us to participate through this video. I am Carlos Mario Gomez, a member of the Amazonian Research Nucleus, NAP, and together with Marcelo Messina, Damian Keller, Brenda Freitas, Lucile Aliel, and Ivan Simuja, we are developing research related to disruptions, technologically convergent factors, and creative activities. We hope to define and delineate musical stuff. Let's start with a little context. During the first wave of ubimus proposals, the musical interaction concepts did not depart entirely from the hegemonic acoustic instrumental paradigm, despite the fact that new approaches were being tested in the field. In this paradigm, a frequently used pattern of organization is the master-slave hierarchy, typically represented by a centralized scheduling system that attempts to emulate the relationship of an orchestral conductor with an instrumentalist. Within the ubimus frameworks, music might be defined as organized sonic information. Thus, musical experience include symbolic musical data, but they are not definitely just that. Ubimus frameworks engage with behavioral ecologies and multisensory or multimodal ecologies. Consequently, limited music making to handling symbolic data or to producing sound is unnecessarily restrictive, although some production is something fundamental, and it implies an inaccurate depiction of the musical experience. On the other hand, is the Internet of Musical Things, which can be defined as an ecosystem of interconnected devices capable of supporting forms of distributed music production. Multiple close derivatives of the same concept have been proposed, but for the moment we will focus exclusively on the concept of things and its implication for post-2020 musical practices. Musical thing is a concept that appeared in various projects during the 2010s and eventually was incorporated as a central component of the Internet of Musical Things. We propose caution regarding the adoption of the thing category as a compartmentalization into discrete entities of reality and prefer the category stuff. Things are vulnerable to the imposition of territorialities and are potentially subject to reification, objectification, and, in the context of global transactions, monetization. These characteristics can have a negative impact on proposals that aim to expand access to creative work by marginalized communities, artists without institutional economic support, and potential interested parties located outside central countries. As opposed to things, stuff is fluid, malleable, unfixable, and pecuniarily irrelevant. Hence, stuff is good raw material for sustainable ubimus creative ecosystems. As an exercise to shake the ongoing acoustic instrumental biases enforced by mainstream musical interaction design, we propose a definition of a working denomination for post-2020 music making, musical stuff. This concept was previously discussed by Messina et al. In 2022 in two papers. Musical stuff might be conceptualized as the material grounding necessary to deploy ubimus activities, or as the negotiated field of material constraints and opportunities furnished by infrastructure. For us, infrastructure is negotiation impacted by biological, economic, and social pressures shaped by materially grounded and social situated cognition. In this sense, we do not only target new ways of music making, we also target new ways of thinking about artistic practice.
Hello, I'm Marcello Messina and I'm now taking over the next few slides from Carlos. Our approach is backed by a decade and a half of ubimus deployments, recently expanded to the realm of musicology. So some authorities to that are Maciel, Costa and Costalonga 2022, Menezes and Lopez 2022, Mesh, Tedesco and Potenza 2022. We propose a provisional 4-component definition of musical stuff, which is defined as a phenomenology of pliable entities that enable distributed creative activities, deployable on the musical internet. The 4 components of the concept complement each other. Just to clarify, in this definition we take as a given the existence of a musical internet, which provides a platform for the deployment of resources to support various forms of musical practice. So we propose this terminology, musical internet, mostly to accommodate multiple cognate proposals such as the Internet of Musical Things and our Internet of Musical Stuff, etc., without voicing the prominence of any of them. So it's kind of horizontal coexistence between all of these different paradigms. So in order to unpack a bit this kind of idea of musical stuff, so we had provided definition. So the first element of this definition is phenomenology, that asks us to be aware of the what that is around rather than focusing on pre-packaged given ontologies. Now it's important to say that here our big other is Plato and Platonic ontologies, and the idea that things are something that exists beyond and before human consciousness, and that's a quite radicated idea in Western thought. And maybe we are thinking that the Internet of Musical Things or other paradigms where things are used as a kind of primary operative elements might suggest that we are in presence of a Platonic type of ontology. In our vision, things do not come as fixed entities provided with a set of ideal quasi-metaphysical properties. They are rather the result of the cognitive segmentation of existing reality. And then that existing reality, before being segmented into things, that's stuff. This fixed segmentation is perhaps counterproductive in the context of the musical internet. We'd rather be with free processes, untokenized, non-tokenized resources, etc. So rather than having discrete things, we'd rather enjoy the freedom that is implied by watching phenomena. Pliable entities refer to the material resources featured in ubimus ecosystems. The profiles of these resources are constrained by the laws of physics, of biology as well as the structural dynamics of social interactions. Hence, the entities that constitute stuff are not just digital information that can be acted upon or manipulated at will. They are the result of a history of previous interactions that tends to fix their qualities, behaviors and relational properties, shaping their potential to interact with other stakeholders and to generate new creative byproducts and experiences. The third element of our definition of musical stuff relates to distributed creativity. And distributed creative activities that encompass the actions and processes afforded by musical stuff. These activities might be carried out in a shared space, or they may encompass multiple settings. The locations of the resources and stakeholders will influence the required material support, establishing at least three possible categories of interaction: synchronicity, asynchronicity, and quasi-synchronicity. Finally, to be deployable on the musical internet entails the possibility to use networked resources. Effective deployments of ubimus ecosystems depend on the ability of stakeholders to adapt to their behaviors to the local condition by relying on the pliability of resources. So the first example of musical stuff is Introlazzo, which is the title of a cycle of works based on an interactive projected live score. This came originally from my initiative, and then it was performed by a series of different musicians and by myself as well. Some of the musicians include Lucile Aliel, Adam Starkey and Emiliano Gavito, Tom Drummond, Leonardo Facias, and others. Introlazzo reflects on the concept of liveness, both from a creative point of view and as a critical philosophical perspective. The pieces that compose the cycle are all between 5 and 6 minutes long, roughly, and rely on a projected score, as I was saying, that interacts in real time with the performers and with the materials played by him or her. While one of the performers is playing, the sonic output is processed by a patch that in turn generates both the electronic sounds and the score. Introlazzo entails the use of semantic epimusical resources. It employs local reference and resources to engage with aspects of everyday creativity and adopt distributed decision-making procedures to avoid hierarchically oriented social exchanges. It uses an approach based on the use of semantics, avoids the hierarchical divisions of labor of the acoustic instrumental paradigm, where I would be just the composer that kind of teaches or kind of instructs the performers as to what to do. Instead, it proposes open-ended negotiations among the stakeholders. And then it plays with the listener's expectations by shifting the meanings of the reference. So we have a short video of the fifth manifestation of Introlazzo, Introlazzo 5 or Introlazzo 5.
Examples of musical stuff. Pulse 2357, Against Monetization, is a board game with an inherent correlation to music. Craman 2020-24 defies the verification. The musical material produced while playing does not constitute a creative work. Examples of musical stuff. QE and territoriality. Metaphors of geopolitical control and territorialized design are not uncommon within creative collaboration. Multiple activity of users, time and space over the same resources is likely to generate some sort of conflict. QE that targets synchronous and collaborative live patterns by participants situated across continents. By subverting the logic of scarcity and social tags linked to property. This method furnishes an example of musical stuff. Conclusions and next steps. Musical stuff is a consistent construct for ubimus design, deployment, and evaluation, pointing to its incorporation in ubimus-oriented musicology. The relationship between musical stuff and semantic and the Internet of Things. Conclusions and next steps. Our treatment of stuff focuses on its intrinsic qualities, including semantic and territoriality. Aesthetic pliability is highlighted as a valued asset. The examples presented unveil both convergent and disruptive technological factors which may open new opportunities to shape post-2020 creativity musical endeavors.
These are the bibliographical references used in this video, so that you can consult our sources and delve deeper into some of the concepts discussed. We appreciate your attention and hope to continue sharing our research with all of you. Thank you.